This mediocrity, this quote from the beginning of the reading really struck me. He was bright enough to meet the demands of a modern secondary school without overtaxing himself. In fact, under no conceivable circumstances would he have been willing to do that. So he's not going to put forth the effort, even though he's probably capable of doing well in the secondary school. Not even willing to do that, no matter what the goal, not so much out of fear that it might be painful, as because he saw absolutely no reason why he should. It's a man without motivation, basically. This is the heart of his mediocrity. So Hans is a mediocre kind of guy. Why is this the case? So the next thing that really caught my attention, Thomas Mann writes, a human being lives out not only his personal life as an individual, but also consciously or subconsciously, so sometimes we're aware of this, sometimes we're not, the lives of his epoch and contemporaries. So each of us is in some sense a product, at least somewhat, of the culture of the society that we're brought up in. And this is the same for poor Hans, poor mediocre Hans, I should say. He's a product of this time, and this novel was written, early 20th century. This is, I'm guessing a period, the period right around World War I, where we're moving out of the great age of enlightenment, where everyone was so gung-ho about human reason, and he's caught in the in-between right now. Is it all about this human reason? But what happened? Because apparently that attempt failed. This reminds me of, there's a philosopher out of Notre Dame, Alistair MacIntyre, who wrote, I guess what would be considered now like a modern classic, After Virtue. He's talking about right now, our society, and he basically says, he starts out this book with this, an anecdote, a little bit of a story, and he says, imagine a world where all of the natural sciences, so today we think of the sciences as the thing that sets us apart. We've gained so much in our scientific knowledge, but MacIntyre says, imagine a world where the sciences are obliterated, and in trying to pick up the pieces, maybe they're excavating or whatever, looking through the great universities and laboratories, and they can only find these, scraps, basically, that only have words left. The language of what the sciences contained and told. He said, imagine trying to piece together everything that the sciences knew just from these scraps and these words. Well, MacIntyre says this is a great analogy for what is actually the case in our moral life today. The moral life is the, why do I live the way that I want to live? What is it? What's my meaning? What's my purpose? Why do I do the things that I do? There's a reading that I give to my students that take my faith-seeking understanding class about religion and science, and it's by John Polkinghorne. He's an Anglican priest and a physicist, a rare combination today. Polkinghorne writes that science and religion are actually compatible, and he says, now most people aren't going to think this is the case. This strikes us today as like, what? Science and religion, these are always at loggerheads with each other. But for Polkinghorne, he says, it's true, science tries to find he calls it a gut, a G-U-T, a grand unified theory about everything. Science tries to encompass how everything came to be. But for Polkinghorne, he says, what it really does is it tells us how things come to be. But it doesn't tell us why. Religion is able to give us the why. And both are really important questions. For the Catholic faith, science is awesome. And the faith respects science and upholds it as an important piece of understanding the world. But the why, the person that's behind everything that science studies, that's God. That's the ultimate meaning of everything.